Hello, I've been making pots now for over 15 years and I'd like to show you a snapshot of some of the processes that I go through. I have specialised in hand building and I tend to opt to limit my number of tools. Across all of my collections, quite a lot of my pieces will start off in the same manner with flat panels of clay at the leather hard stage. Now this is a lovely part of the process because the clay is supple enough to still tease into shape, yet it's firm enough to stand upright unaided. Now I'm going to use the score and slip method here of joining. It's quite a traditional method. Just going to rough up the edges on both sides. And then use what's called a slurry. So this is just a basic mixture of clay and water, and this will create a strong bond between the two pieces. Just try and make sure those edges are covered, and then just pull those together. Now, generally I would spend quite a bit of time on this profile, several minutes, just to sharpen the profile from both the side view but also from above. So in this case I'm aiming for a cylindrical-ish shape. I'm just going to set that aside for a little bit because the clay is actually still quite wet for the next stage, so I'm just going to leave that to dry off a little bit. Now then, this one has dried off a little bit on the surface, the water has evaporated a little bit more, and it's ready for its first coat of colour. Now I use quite a lot of decorating slips, I have done for several years, and I have found that you can use them at both wet and leather hard stage, but this actually is the optimum stage for my pots. So I'm just going to apply this now with the brush. The consistency of the decorating slip will also affect the surface quality of the pot once it's fired, gone through the whole process. Now I've got to the first coat all the way around quite evenly. I would leave that to dry off a little bit until it's touch dry and then add a second coat on the top of the same colour. Now a lot of my pieces go through the same process, so at this point I can decide which piece it's going to fit into and in terms of the collections that I'm making. So if I was to make, for example, the pattern and surface collection, this one would probably need 2 or 3 other coats of the same colour before I go on to the next stage. Whereas if I'm going to make one from the painterly surface collections, then I will treat it in a slightly different way. So I'm just going to put this one aside as well for a moment because it's a little bit wet. I'm just going to let that dry. So the second one that I've got here, this one has had 2 coats already on the surface. It's actually ready for a more painterly approach to the decoration. This one I'm going to have in my coastal and lake collection. So quite a lot of my decorating slips are a mixture of creamy tones. So at this stage I can't differentiate between them too readily, but I have chosen one in contrast so that you can see it today. So I will just go for it on here with this next colour of slip. And build up the layers accordingly. So I will leave that one to dry off a little bit till touch dry again and add another coat on the top, perhaps